Huge shout out to the Iowa Hawkeyes women basketball team winning 77-73 against South Carolina in the Final Four. They're going to be playing in the national championship game tomorrow against LSU. Huge shout out to fucking Caitlin Clark. She just balled out of control. Once again, 41 points. That's back-to-back games, 41 points. I believe she had like 6 rebounds and 8 assists. So she was pretty close to another double-double. Technically, she should have had another double-double. I think there was a couple assists that she should have had if they would have been able to make the shots, but they were halfway down in. So we'll break this game down really quick. My girls, obviously, huge Caitlin Clark fan, right, Scotty?
Yeah.
There you guys go. So you guys can definitely see the impact she's having on, in reality, all of college sports, women college sports in general. And I think right now she's just on fire. I mean, back-to-back 40-point games, never been done before. This is the highest. I think she had 41 points. I think that's the highest amount of points of any college women's college player in the semifinal, finals, and in the Final Four in general. So huge shout out to her. She pretty much dominated the game. And of course, I had to have another Caitlin Clark fan here join us. But like I said, the game plan for the Iowa Hawkeye women team, they completely, I felt like, outcoached South Carolina in a sense because of the screen and roll play, especially with Monica Sanano and also Caitlin Clark. The pick and roll, and then she was just rolling off the pick every time. And they were double teaming Caitlin Clark because you can't leave, the greatest shooter of all time wide open. And Caitlin Clark, being the great passer and the vision that she had, was able to find and pick apart in reality South Carolina's defense. So that was great on that end. And it's one of those things where she is just the greatest player in women's college basketball today. Her speed, her ability to dribble, drive, penetrate, kick out when she needed to do. She was just making amazing decisions with the ball, whether to shoot or not. And then, of course, the step back three. She was having some contested 3-point shots, and she was still able to make those. And like I said, still score 41 points back to back. Listen, if you really consider that, that's really an amazing feat that she was able to do that. And then, to make matters worse, I don't think she missed a free throw. And by doing that, when she drives and she gets fouled and she gets put on the line, the consistency, she's able to make the free throws. I think that puts pressure on the defense, of course, not to foul her. And then I think Iowa was able to definitely break the press. There you go. And then Iowa's ability to be able to break the press whenever South Carolina was putting press on Caitlin Clark and the Iowa Hawkeyes definitely changed the game too, because the press didn't fucking matter. No matter what South Carolina decided to do, Iowa women was able to break the press and actually go right into their offense. So there you guys go. This was a game that Iowa was a double-digit underdog. I think they were 11-point underdog. I actually won some fucking money on that. Hell yeah, I was stupid enough to bet with my heart, and that's the thing. Never bet with your heart, but I bet it with my heart a little bit today or last night's game, and I put on the Iowa Hawkeye women's team. You got to take the 11 points. When you got the greatest basketball player in all of college sports, you got to take her. You got to take those 11 points. I mean, it is what it is on that. I do think the height of the South Carolina, if you guys didn't watch the game, you should go back. It was one of the greatest college games that I've seen in a long time, bar none. It was super exciting from beginning to end. That's the difference between, I feel, the women's college game and the men's college game. The amount of skills and the technicality, and I feel like the women's game is it's super exciting. They're very technical. If you really watch, the women's footwork is way better than the men's, because the men's game, they try to copycat the NBA a little bit, and the footwork is atrocious if you really think about it. It's too much traveling, too much of the all that nonsense. But if you watch the women's game, they're very technically sound, especially with their footwork. They actually have things called fucking pivot feet. If you watch the women's game, that's the biggest thing, is that the pivot feet, actually stays still and they don't move it, they don't travel like the men's game. So fundamentally, I feel like the women's basketball game is just way better, and you can see that, and that's why. And also, you can see the nonstop action if you watch the women's game, down and up the court. It's constant action, constant flow. There's not always the ISOs, and that's the one thing. I feel like the women's game is more of a team concept. It's not always about the ISO. Even though Iowa can do it, especially when they have probably the best ISO player in the college game. And I think Caitlin Clark, showed that she can do ISO, work and dominate the game. But if you watch the way South Carolina played her, they weren't gonna let her. They were trying to contain her, and they couldn't fucking do it. And that's why Iowa won. Shout out to this is the one thing I noticed of the game. Gabby Marshall for Iowa. She's one of the best 3-point shooters, spot up shooters, I think, in all of women's college ball. And South Carolina knew that. If you guys watched the game, nobody ever laid off of Gabby Marshall. They didn't want her to hurt them. So if you watch it, not once did they, the defender that was on Gabby Marshall, not once did they come off of her to double team Caitlin Clark or to double team Monica or anybody else on Iowa's team. They knew that Gabby Marshall was that detrimental if she was to get any wide open three. So she got 0 points, but her defense was spot on. But the thing was, her ability to shoot the wide open three took away one defender from all of South Carolina against Iowa. And that I felt like that was game changing, because having Gabby Marshall and having her defender literally taken away from the game, because they were always tracking her and making sure that Gabby Marshall wasn't open to shoot any wide open three. So pretty much doing that, Caitlin Clark was able to go ahead and take her person one-on-one, her defender one-on-one, and then do the pick and roll all night long. And there you guys go. The game plan, the Iowa offensive game plan was just very, I thought, fine-tuned, and it was spot on against probably the biggest team Iowa has ever had to play and face. South Carolina, shout out to them. They were just very difficult on the offensive rebound, defensive rebound. There was really nothing Iowa can do. I was watching the game and I was kind of yelling at a team like, box out, box out. Iowa was fucking boxing out. But the thing was, you can't box out when somebody's 4 or 5 inches taller than you. You can only do what you can. But they did the best they can, the circumstances of being completely outmanned in regards to height-wise, size-wise. But you can't judge the size of the heart. So you got to give the Iowa women's a much appreciation for the amount of heart and belief and confidence that they had in themselves. So there we go. National championship game. Let's go, girls. We'll see how they do tomorrow. Super excited. My girls, obviously, you guys see they are beyond excited to root on the Iowa Hawkeyes and Caitlin Clark and all of them. So there you guys go. You guys like this shit? Subscribe. Go Hawks.